There are some consulting cases that are just legendary. And this is one of them, but maybe for all the wrong reasons. It's about an airline, a cup of coffee, and an interview candidate who got all the math right and still managed to fail spectacularly. We're going to deconstruct exactly how that can happen and why this story is one of the single best lessons in what strategic thinking is all about.
Hoof. Can you even imagine hearing that after a grueling, high-stakes interview? That is the exact, devastating feedback a real candidate received. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack the entire case to see what led to this brutal moment. It's a masterclass in how a simple question about coffee can expose a huge gap between just crunching numbers and actually thinking like a consultant. All right, so here's our flight plan. We'll start with the client's big question. Then we'll build out a proper consultant's framework to tackle it. We'll run the numbers just like the candidate did, and then, and this is the best part, we'll watch as the whole thing gets torn apart. Finally, we'll land on the key lessons that make this failed case so valuable.
Okay, let's set the scene. Our client is North American Airlines. Let's just call them NAA. And like basically every airline out there, they're always trying to find new ways to make money beyond just selling tickets, what they call ancillary revenue. And they've got this idea, what if they partner with a huge brand to sell more stuff in the air?
So here it is, the core question. NAA is thinking about teaming up with Java Moose, a big premium coffee chain, to sell their coffee on flights. Now, the interviewer gives the candidate a very specific instruction: focus on the profits. And that one little word, profits, becomes the lens for this entire case. And as we're about to see, it's a total trap. So how does a top-tier consultant approach a problem like this? Well, they definitely don't just whip out a calculator and start punching in numbers. No, the first and most critical step is to build a framework. It's like a logical roadmap that breaks the problem down into smaller, much more manageable pieces. This makes sure nothing gets missed.
And for any question that has the word profit in it, the absolute go-to tool is the profitability framework. It's incredibly simple, but it's so powerful. I mean, at the end of the day, profit is just a function of two things, right? The money coming in, your revenues, and the money going out, your costs.
From that top level, we break it down again. This is where consultants use this kind of fancy-sounding principle called MACE. It just means mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. All that really means is you break things down so the pieces don't overlap, and together they make up the whole pie. So revenues become volume times price, and costs get split into fixed and variable. This is the skeleton, the scaffolding for the entire analysis.
Okay, framework's built. Now it's time to put some meat on those bones. The candidate's job is to start asking the interviewer for all the data they need to fill in this structure and figure out what's actually happening at M&A today.
First up, the candidate asks, so how big is this operation? The interviewer tells them, North American Airlines runs 50 flights every single day. That's our starting point, the foundation for figuring out the total size of this opportunity.
Okay, 50 flights a day. But are they empty? Nope. The next crucial piece of data is that the planes are, on average, 95% full. That's a really healthy number, and it tells us how many potential customers are actually in the air each day.
And the candidate keeps digging for details. Each plane holds 200 people. The 50 flights are a mix of short hops and long cross-country treks, some in the morning, some late at night. And here it is, a critical clue. The clientele is mostly business travelers. Remember that. Lastly, the airline makes a nice 50% markup on anything it sells on board.
Now, to be fair, what the candidate does next is really good, on paper at least. They take all this scattered information and organize it perfectly into this clean, simple table. They calculate that NAA's total daily sales from in-flight purchases are $5,500. This is fantastic quantitative work. Clear, logical, easy to follow.
And with that 50% markup, the math is straightforward. The candidate calculates the daily profit from these sales, $1,833. The math is perfect, the logic seems totally sound. So far, so good, right?
And now we've arrived at the moment of truth. The candidate knows the current situation, and now they need to predict the future. They have to estimate how much Java Moose coffee they could actually sell, and to do that, they have to make some assumption.
And if you look at these, they seem pretty reasonable, don't they? Some people are sleeping on early flights, sure. Others are probably fine with the free stuff. And yeah, some people probably already bought coffee at the airport. Based on all this, the candidate draws their conclusion: the demand for a premium coffee is going to be pretty darn small.
So, the final verdict is delivered with a ton of confidence. The numbers just don't add up. The potential profit is too tiny to be worth all the hassle. NAA should walk away. It's a no-go on the Java Moose partnership.
And this is where the floor completely falls out. The interviewer, who's been patiently listening this whole time, starts to pull on a single thread, and the candidate's entire argument just unravels. It was never about the math. It was about the thinking.
The first shot, the candidate was laser-focused on new money coming in. But the interviewer asks, what about the money we'd save? Think about it. Every time someone buys a Java Moose, that's one less free cup of coffee NAA has to provide. This is a brilliant concept called positive cannibalism, and it was totally missed.
Then comes the second bombshell, and this one is huge. Businesses don't operate in a vacuum. The interviewer asks, what happens if your biggest competitor announces a partnership with Starbucks tomorrow? Suddenly, not having a premium coffee isn't a small missed opportunity. It's a massive competitive weakness. The candidate's whole analysis was done inside a bubble.
And this last one, this one had to sting, because it gets personal. It shows a complete failure to understand that key customer segment, the business traveler. For someone on a red-eye flight who has to walk straight into a 9 a.m. meeting, a good cup of coffee isn't a luxury. It's a mission-critical tool. The candidate's assumptions just didn't match reality. And this slide just lays it all out so perfectly. This is the core mistake. The candidate saw a tiny math problem about the profit from a cup of coffee. A real consultant sees a huge strategic question about the entire customer experience. It's not about the $1 or $2 you make on the coffee, it's about what it says about your brand, how it positions you against competitors, and all those second-order effects that are worth way, way more than $1,833 a day. So, let's wrap this up by distilling the biggest lessons. Because honestly, this spectacular failure is where the real gold is. It shows us the exact principles that separate a simple number cruncher from a true strategic thinker. So, if you remember one thing, make it this. Numbers tell you what is happening, but strategy tells you why it matters. A truly great analysis always goes way beyond the spreadsheet. You have to get obsessed with the customer, you have to think about what the competition's going to do next, and you have to see those hidden opportunities, like a better brand image or saving money on free coffee, that a narrow focus on profit will blind you to every single time. We'll end with this question because it's really the heart of this entire case. When is a cup of coffee worth more than its price tag? The answer is when that cup of coffee tells your customers that you care about quality, when it improves their entire journey with you, and when it keeps you one step ahead of everyone else. It's a perfect reminder that in business, the things that matter most often can't be found in the first column of a spreadsheet.